Something victorious for old Channing Crowder, the next Kevin Hart, Chris Rock.
I got a little set.
Tell you what, I'm just kidding, Jimmy. By the way, I love Guns N' Roses. Crowder had his comedy show last night at the Improv in Dania, and it was so friggin' good. I marvel at it. Like, it was so good. Now, I saw you in Doral, and then I saw you again last night. I'll give you off air my notes on your shows. I know you want to hear from a old comedy hack like me.
I do.
But yeah, I just marvel because anyone who was there last night, a lot of people came up to me and they're like, 2:00, I'll be listening. You got to be talking about it. So here we are. I marvel, I can sniff it out. I think a lot of people who like comedy or spoken word or storytelling the way that I do, you can sniff out someone who has stage presence as he drops his mic. It's so perfect. Wow. It's like that could that be more perfect?
You're trying to praise me, and I'm a mess it all up.
That was exactly like me praising Solana with the Jaime Jaquez Jr. interview, and he's like, a lot while. Crowder's got, and again, I know it's not surprising, but it is surprising because to control a stage at a sold-out comedy show is not as easy as you might think it is. And like I say, you can sniff it out in an instant if someone has a little trepidation or is unsure of what they're doing or is hoping that they get a good reaction because then they'll groove into it. And you have a presence from the moment you walk out to the moment you stop. And it really is. It's fun for those of us who know you off the air for a long time. Like, it's fun to watch because that's, again, you're a great storyteller, but it's one thing to have storytelling translate to stage presence in the situation of stand-up comedy where, like you said last week, people will laugh uproariously. But when they're done laughing, they're like, now what? And there is no relaxing, oh, that one went over well, let me chill for a little bit. Like, no, now give us something else, and then give us something else, and you can't whiff. And you were fantastic last night.
You got to hit a home run and then another home run. And then if you hit a single, you hit a single. Then you got to hit another home run, another home run, another home run, another home run. And, man, I appreciate y'all for coming real. Solana, Valentina, I saw y'all Hawk, and I saw Dr. Chuck and Tree. And, like, I saw y'all when I was, when y'all out there. And, man, it was crazy. When they said that they were turning people away, I got a little nervous. I'm not going to lie, because they came in the room and they were like, hey, it's people outside that can't get in. And I was like, so how much does that mean I make? But
how much do I lose? How much lost revenue is this? Can't someone sit on Hawk's shoulders?
We're not taking any money anymore. But it was cool, man. And from the last time in Doral, and Hawk, I appreciate it. You've been to both my shows. And from the last time to this time, man, I feel the difference. And you just got to keep, like, it's funny because I talked to Jim Barry before the show, and he was asking me, he was like, how do you do it? And I'm like, I really watch film on myself. And I watched before, when I was in Orlando, every single night I was in Orlando with the kids, I watched comedy specials every single night because I knew it was coming. It's like, if you want to do something, do it at the best level you can do it at. And that's the thing that I saw. And like I changed my interest. I changed everything because of the fact that I really want to be good at it.
Yeah, it shows to me. It really does, because it's one thing to just get up there and say, oh, people know me, so they'll buy tickets to see me. It's another thing to have the presence of a stand-up comedian, and you have it.
The ending, and I won't give it away, but the way you punctuated the show at the end, I'm not kidding, reminded me of the way Dave Chappelle ended one of his shows, where you had a callback, and it was hilarious.
Yeah,
I was in
perfect.
tears.
It was perfect. That was like legit textbook successful comedy, and it didn't go unnoticed by everyone who was there. Like, it was like I say, it was a very professional show, and it was neat last night. Udonis Haslam was there, Fred Taylor was there, Ryan Clark was there. Jim Barry is a performer in his own right. He does stage performances. He's a singer. There were a lot of people there last night, and it had this vibe to it. And but it, again, like I say, it's one thing to have a vibe. It's another thing to actually pull it off successfully. And you do so. And what I noticed last night too, from last night to the Miami show, thinking back, I thought last night there was a lot more stuff that can translate to any kind of audience that's looking for comedy, rather than just, me, I'm Channing Crowder, and so I'm going to tell you my stories, which may have a difficult time, say, playing in Boise. But the stuff, I saw some stuff last night where I was like, this is just good stand-up comedy. Like, this isn't necessarily the so defined storytelling of just Channing Crowder. Like, there were some really good bits in there. So I hope you felt good after the show.
Yeah, I did. And to your point about the more general stuff, it was like I said, I went to see Lil Duval and Mike Epps and all those guys the other night at the Hard Rock. And as I'm now watching comedy, because we say it all the time, when I watch football, I don't see humans, I see lines. Like, I see the routes and I'm like, oh, they should have been in cover 3. He would have been underneath number 2. I'm starting to look at comedy in like a schematic way. And so that's like the callback, the last joke. I set it up early on, and then I knew that I was going to come back to it, and I saw that people love that joke, and then I was like, okay, when I bring it back, it's going to be crazy. And then it sit there, and the dramatization of it, and it was funny. But Solana, you bring up that last joke. As I was sitting there and I was setting it up, I saw everybody on the edge of their seat, and in the back of my mind, I'm like, man, when I hit this punchline, these people are going to go crazy.
Yep.
And I really, as I was telling it, I had to tell myself, don't do it too fast.
Right.
Don't do it too fast. Don't do it too fast. And then when I said the punchline, and I was like, that's my time, I'm out. And everybody went crazy. Like, it's really an art. And I'm starting to love the art of comedy more now.
Yeah, you're reeling in a fish at that point. And if you yank it just too fast, you're going to lose the fish. The audience at that moment is the fish. And you're reeling them in. You're reeling them in. You're reeling them in. And as a fisherman, you can't do it too fast. Like, you've got to, and you nailed it perfectly. But even the part where you're talking about, if you're ugly or good looking, asking someone for directions or where something is, like, that's just good comedy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's just good comedy that'll play everywhere.
Bro, Crowder called some dude out in the crowd, and there was a guy in the very front who was getting picked on the whole show, and it was funny. But Crowder called one guy out in the crowd and called him ugly, and that dude did not laugh.
Yeah, no, there were a couple times, but the guy in the plaid, man, that was funny as hell. The guy in the plaid. Yeah.
He didn't like that.
It was funny. It was perfect.
Because the people at the table thought it was hilarious, pointing at him. Look, he's talking about you. And then he realizes, and he's just staring right back at you like, don't call me out, bitch.
It was funny. Really good show. Anyway, it was really good show.
I really appreciate y'all coming.
Very glad. Speaking of Valentina, who was out there, happy birthday to Valentina, Solana's fiance now.
Crowder
celebrating her birthday.
Made it a very awkward car ride for me on the way home.
Why? Because of all the subject matter that he covered.
Yeah. You kind of called me out a little bit when talking about manhood.
I got you. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Everybody can have Randy's meat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I do not.
Nor do I.
Nor do I. Hell, we're all together. We're a team here.
Nor do I. Yeah, well done. It was excellent. If you get a chance, I'm sure Crowder will do more dates. And if you get a chance, I saw your father-in-law, this Bruno. I just marvel every time I see him. I get such a kick out of him. He is such a nice guy, but man, is he put together. I mean, that should be your opening act. We just look at Bruno for 20 minutes. Just look at Bruno. Actually, speaking of opening acts, I gotta give love. Marcos, who's the executive producer for Tobin and Leroy before us. Marcos was fantastic.
Yeah.
His opening bit killed. It killed. And then Luis Diaz comes on afterwards. And he does what, about 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes?
Yeah. Why'd you say Diaz?
Isn't it Diaz?
Right.
Diaz.
Luis Diaz.
Isn't it Luis Diaz?
Diaz.
No, Luis Diaz.
Diaz? But I thought it was Diaz.
Luis Diaz.
It's not Luis Diaz? I'm being 100% honest.
If you really wanted to
because
emphasize
I thought in
it,
Spanish, the I sounds like E and the A is A.
like
Diaz.
if you really wanted to do it that way, you could say Luis Diaz.
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 So you're saying like Diaz.
Not Diaz. Diaz.
Diaz.
Diaz.
Huh. Not Diaz.
Diaz.
Now, being 100% honest, I
Yeah.
thought Diaz was
but
Diaz.
Even that, like that's not what you said. You said Diaz.
Luis Diaz.
Luis Diaz.
Luis Diaz.
Diaz. You know how I'm gonna say it. Luis Diaz.
Luis Diaz was on, but now I feel like I'm saying something. Like now I feel like I'm being respectable to Luis Diaz, who I've known for a long time. But apparently Luis Diaz was very good, according to Solana. No, he was really good. You know, he used to be the executive producer for Lucy Lopez and Zog here at Power 96. And Luis Diaz was so friggin' funny. This guy, I am telling you, I think he's one of the funniest guys in all of South Florida. I just love his stage presence. So it was really just a great show, man. Well, you had a fun night last night.
I appreciate y'all. Real talk. I appreciate you coming. I'm glad that we met the call. We figured out what we were gonna do.
You did. You know, a lot of times you go see a show. I don't care if it's someone you love, don't care for, never heard of. You start checking your clock. You're like, what time do you think we'll be getting out of here? There wasn't a point last night. I'm talking with Marcos, Lewis, you. There was not a point where I was like, this is kind of slow and I want to get out of here. I wonder what time it is. So kudos to everyone.
It's funny because I did an hour and a half. I did an hour and 32 minutes because they time it, whatever. And the general manager came up to me and she was like, hey, you know, great show. And I was like, oh, thank you. I'm just thinking about where's my check. But she was like, you did an hour and 30 and only 2 people left and they didn't want to be there anyway. I think they didn't check the slate. So at an hour and 30, it was 400, sorry. What was it? 346 seats. 2 people left before the show was over. And she was like, I've never seen that before. And she's been a general manager there for 3 years.
I think they left also for, I don't think they were not enjoying the show because I happened to see them leaving. And I think that like something happened with them. Where
they may have had a sitter up until a certain time
right.
or whatever. And then it's like, we got to go.
Yeah, and that was the crazy part. But everybody said they were like, we don't turn people away. They said that was the 4th time they had to turn people away in Dania Improv history. So that made me feel good.
I did enough radio shows. I mean,
I mean, if you didn't have an overflow crowd, it says a little something about Joanne Strader.
I got to get off today about 3:30. I go back on with Joanne.
That's so funny. And then I was trying to get out of there. I hung around. I only go there because people give me all kinds of flowers. So I don't go to see you. I get, all the shrapnel. Oh, you're the real brains behind, and all the people that want to take pictures with me. And I'm like, oh, this is great. And then I was trying to get out of there. I had hung out maybe 30 minutes, 60 minutes after the show and just hanging out. And then I was trying to get out of there, but I didn't know how to get out of there. And I walked into Freaknik. I didn't know that Freaknik is going on at Dania Point on Sunday nights. I walked into Freaknik. I walked right into the documentary. I didn't know what was going on and where I was. I just kept blurting out, I'm with Crowder and RC. And
I gave you a shout out.
I know. I loved it.
Yes,
I absolutely loved it. Couple shout outs from the stage. I got one. Udonis Haslam got one. Fred Taylor, RC. That was nice.
I gave you a shout out on the bathroom joke.
Yeah. Butt foot. Anyway, we'll talk about that today. We'll talk about Crowder and Crowder Powder and the comedy and all that stuff. I should mention, I haven't even talked to Falero, our old executive producer. he posted when I got home last night. My wife told me he posted on social media. He and his wife are having a baby.
Yes.
A baby. I mean, we're watching the kids around us grow up, Crowder. Our executive producer, Falero's having a baby. Solana's engaged. I mean, they're all grows up, man.
Paternity test.
All right, Kevin Hart. Settle down.
Falero can make a baby?
Falero can make a baby. How
Come on
about that?
I just need to see. I need to see 23 and me.
We will talk about that today. I just had such a great time last night.